in a minute till it actually goes live.
We're
So,
gonna need to mute some folks in the background. So,
all right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Downey Center for Spiritual Living and our Sunday celebration. I invite you to mute your mics and sing along.
Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light. You are beautiful just the way you are. Step into the love. You're illuminated by the glory of God's love. Step into the truth. From within, your abundance overflows. Our love can change one life. One life can change the world. Step into the light. Step into the love. Step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light. Step into the love. Step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me. Step with me. Step into the light. Step into the love. Step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. Step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So move with me. Step with me. Step into the light.
A great way to start a morning. Thank you so much for being here. And as our custom, we like to move right from that spiritual practice of joining in song into a spiritual practice of our vision and mission. And I'm just going to read this out loud to you right now, so just take a moment to listen to it. And after I do that, I'm just going to invite us all to unmute and say it all together. And we're going to do it in English and Spanish. I'll read it first. By valuing and empowering all, we inspire a fulfilling and joyous life. Al valorar y potenciar todo, inspiramos una vida plena y alegre. So I invite you now just to unmute as we say this together. Here we go. By valuing and
valuing
empowering
and
all,
empowering all,
we
we
inspire a
inspire a
fulfilling and
fulfilling and
joyous
joyous
life.
life. A
A
valorar
valorar
y
y
potenciar
potenciar todo,
todo,
inspiramos
inspiramos
una
una
vida
vida
plena
plena
y
y
alegre.
alegre.
Mm. And you're sounding wonderful as usual. I already feel good being here. I hope you feel good being here too. And it is not just an aspiration to recite that vision and mission, but it's also a reminder to, you know, how to live that vision and mission is why we're gathering here today, how we do that more completely and more fully. Hmm. So now we want to segue into a meditation and prayer practice, and we are blessed to have with us today practitioner Angelica Guzman. And we are in good hands with our practitioner today. So I invite Angelica to take it away.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So we're going to get in a comfortable position where we sit up straight and we're going to close our eyes. We'll breathe in and breathe out. On our breath, we're going to take the peace and love that this morning we have all together. So we recognize there is only one God. There is a powerful force, omnipresent, omniscient, that lives within every one of us. We are thankful that we are here this morning, ready to take in a lot of learning, a lot of love and comprehension, and understanding of this powerful force that inhibits every one of us. And so it is. And now we want to breathe in and feel our body, every single part of our body, present in this moment, present in the now, knowing that this power of beauty, this power that created the whole universe is within us, is within everyone in this community, is within everyone in our city, is within everyone in the world. And as it is in every human being, it is in everything that is created, everything. Knowing that that force is within all of us, all that exists. Knowing that this force is beauty and power. We put in our mind this power to make everything in our world beautiful, to understand with gratitude that everything is amazing and everything has a level of beauty that possesses the power of God. If we think about trees and its magnificent power and beauty, we will see the power of God within all those trees. We could see green trees that haven't lost their color. We could see trees that are losing their leaves, protecting the chlorophyll on the trunk, having a whole process of surviving while we are going through the fall and the winter with the beauty and power of God within them. If we see a woman with a baby in the womb doing the whole process of growing a human being from one little mini particle to a 9 month of full growth, fingers, brain, skin, heart, feelings, amazing power of beauty of God. If we think about our wonderful cell phone that communicates, that helps us to communicate with people all over the world at the same time, And now we can even see them. That's the power of beauty that it's in God. If we think about our meals that we enjoy it every day, and all the hands that created that food, and all those hands that picked up all those vegetables and fruits that we have in front of our plates, that's the beauty and the power of God. If we think about the computer that it's in front of us, or the phone that is allowing us to communicate with each other and enjoy this morning, this wonderful meeting of love and remembering of that power of God. That's the beauty of this omnipresent power. With that gratitude about everything that surrounds us, with that gratitude about everyone that surrounds us, with that gratitude and grace of being alive and being with ourselves. We take a journey today, recognizing the beauty and the power of God within us. Take some time to recognize that beauty, that grace, and that power on your own lives, the way that God expresses its beauty and grace in your life. With that perfect thought and with that perfect feeling of knowing that God expresses its beauty and grace through us, by us, and for us, we let that beauty and grace express through each and every one of us into the world today and into this meeting that we are all here to feel and take with us that energy. We breathe deeply, feeling that beauty within us, feeling that grace, and at our own pace, we come back to this place to continue our journey.
I was so deep, I'm out of focus. Thank you so much, Angelica.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for leading us in that spiritual practice and for really setting the tone for our Sunday celebration service. Well, we have a few announcements that I would love to share with our spiritual community. And so let's take a look. First of all, I'd like to make sure that you all know that you are invited for Prac Chat for the holidays. This is going to happen via Zoom. And what we know is that the holidays are usually times for many people that bring up either lots of joy or lots of grief or a combination of joy and grief. And so we are inviting you to join our practitioner, Jan Hartman, to embrace this deep dive into love as you have an opportunity and as we gather to share our love and experiences of a loss and grief. And it's going to be happening on November the 18th, which is this Thursday coming up. And then again on December the 9th. And this is going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Jan, I know that you're with us today. Would you like to say a few words? Would you unmute yourself, please?
Please feel free to come at either time. It's just an occasion for us to have some conversation about change, a conversation about how we move through different parts and parcels of the life that we're given. And it's about joy, it's about loss, it's about grief, it's about love, it's about everything connected to life. And so if you have some conversation you'd like to have about any of that related to anything going on in your life that isn't quite what the muster could give you, let's move into some love with it on Thursday nights, one in November and one in December, and I'd love to have you there. Thank you.
Thank you, beloved. We so appreciate Jan opening up space, and that there is space for us to have prac chat and be in the presence of a practitioner and that practitioner consciousness that knows the truth even beyond the appearance and yet honors the appearance of grief, of loss, of joy, of whatever it is that may be coming up for us during that time. I also want to remind us that if we have teenagers in our life, whether they be our own or grandchildren or even teens in our family, I want to bring up and highlight to make room for Bloom. And this is our Centers for Spiritual Living Virtual Winter Teen Camp 2022. It's going to happen in the month of January from the 14th through the 16th, and registration is only $50. So I think it is an excellent way to invest in our young people as they begin to actually recognize and learn our Science of Mind philosophy, where they gather the spiritual tools necessary to not only transform their own personal lives, but actually participate in transformation of our global planet and awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. So I want to make sure that you have that information as well for our teens. And if there are any teens in your midst that may have a challenge with that $50 registration fee, please see me or Reverend Kevin. We are happy to provide partial scholarship or even full scholarship for some teens, especially those who are in our community and can really benefit from that. Now, I want to bring our attention to November's special theme, and it is "The Abundance is Real. Let's Keep It Flowing." And to share a testimonial or we're asking you to share a testimonial of how the abundance is real in your life, how utilizing these principles and this abundance consciousness has been a benefit in your life. And we're also asking you, as our beloved community members, to fill out a 2022 pledge card. As our leadership council, aka board of directors, is now looking at the budget for 2022, it's going to be important for us to know what our possible income would be, so that this way we can prepare for that in a way that is responsible and in a way that really makes our leadership council amazing stewards of our funds. So later on, you'll have a link to that pledge card, and we want to know about your abundance consciousness. So please also drop us a line, and we may interview you on a Sunday for our Abundance is Real interview segment. So speaking of abundance consciousness, Reverend Kevin, is now a good time to okay, well, first we'll do this. We'll give our thank yous, because we have an abundance of gratitude, and that's for sure. And we want to share that gratitude right now with our practitioner, Angelica Guzman. Thank you so much for leading us in that prayer and meditation. Today's message is being brought to us by our very own beloved Reverend Kevin Cottle. So thank you in advance for what I know is a powerful message. I want to thank our live stream moderators. Thank you so much for being out there in the world in live stream and interacting with all of our beloved community. Thanks to our leadership council, our music team, and thank all of you for joining us today. So as we continue in this theme of abundance, and the abundance is real, how we practice that is through our conscious giving, and giving as a spiritual practice. So thank you in advance for your gifts, your tithes, and your offerings. And if you're mailing those in, where you can mail them to is to our post office box, and it's at 3350 East 7th Street, and it's a post office box 529, and that is in Long Beach, California, 90804. If you're using your bill pay service, please use the same address. Or if you're online streaming or here with us on Zoom, you can use the donate button or the link, or you can use the donate button on our website to use your credit card or debit card. And we have a new feature, which is Zelle. So thank you for using Zelle. You can use Zelle with our telephone number, which is 562-928-6460. But what really makes this a spiritual practice is not that we're just sending in our financial donation to our beloved community, but what makes this a spiritual practice is the intention and the heart set and the mindset in which we give. We give knowing our abundance. We give knowing that our abundance is real. We give knowing that we are in the reciprocal nature of life, in the ebb and flow of life, and that it continues to ebb and flow eternally. So in order to anchor that in,
well, now might be a good time to hear from one of our folks about how this is.
Perfect.
Thank
you.
Dana, are you there?
I am.
All right. Well, my first question to you briefly, you've been with this teaching for quite a long time. And my question for you was, what was life like before you came to the Science of Mind teaching? What was that? How would you describe that?
Basically, it was a struggle, and I was always analyzing and writing budget down. It was during my first marriage, and we were in a really rough patch, and we're going to counseling, and we decided the best thing would be to divorce, which of course is an expensive event, and I was pretty much on my own. And it was really wonderful when our marriage counselor told me that I wouldn't be able to afford her anymore. So goodbye. It's been fun, but she led me to the Church of Religious Science in Claremont. as it was known back in the day. So that was my first introduction, and the message, the lesson, and you just really brought back memories when you were talking about the pledge card, because they were going through a pledge program, and I was sweating bullets when I pledged $5 a week. Being divorced, I got the house, but I also got all the bills. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I cannot tell you how things happened, but they happened. I was able to stay in the house. I was able to travel. I just now know it's going to work. I don't know how, but it's going to work out.
And was there a moment after you joined the Claremont community that you felt like you kind of turned the corner on this consciousness, this shift? And maybe
I honestly, I remember, I could tell you what we were all wearing. I could tell you about the weather. It was when I signed my pledge card for $5, and I sat and I prayed and I said, please make this happen. I know it doesn't sound like much, but back in the day, it was all I had, and I didn't even know if I had that much for sure. But it was a pledge in my heart that was it. I put it in writing. I said my prayer. I said, okay, God, it's up to you. And that was the turning point. It was, I knew if I did my part, the universe would do its part, and even more than I could imagine. Mm. Wow. So I've been able to live very comfortably. I've traveled to some miraculous places around the world. And also, I think my own attitude, I think instead of looking at what everyone else has for the most part, to me now, abundance means I can shop at Nordstrom's if I choose, or I can shop at Sam's, or I can run into...
That's okay.
So abundance is an attitude as well. Mm.
Well, thank you, Dana, so much for sharing part of your journey with us. And I resonate exactly with what your process is. I do appreciate you and all that you and the Wright family contribute and share with our beloved Downey community. I thank you for that. And with that feeling, now would be a good time to say our statement of giving together. So I will pass this over to Reverend Sunshine.
And I'm going to say it in English, and I'm going to invite you all now to take whatever gifts, tithes, or offering, or whatever it is that you are prayerfully contributing to our beautiful community, and to just hold your hands to your heart. And you can say it in English. Again, I'll say it in Spanish. And here we go. You can unmute to do this if you're on Zoom. La abundancia
flows in my life. I am blessed with prosperity. I give with generosity. Yes. In tithe and faith, belief, and with a consciousness of love. My gift is a divine circulation through me that now benefits and grows our spiritual community and beyond. And now it is.
Comunidad espiritual y más allá. Y ahora es. That cacophony sounds beautiful and lovely. So now let us prepare our hearts and our minds for Reverend Kevin's talk by simply engaging in this song. In the Spirit, walking in the Spirit, walking in the Spirit of one God, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit, loving in the Spirit.
I just love to drink that in. It's more than a walk in spirit for me. It really is it's just, it's the music and everything just moves me to really a different level of consciousness than what I was even a moment before. So good morning. Welcome to the Downey Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Kevin Cottle, and I have the honor and privilege of presenting our message this week. So let's get right to it if we could. Our theme for the entire year of 2021, coming to a close shortly, is timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. Our theme for November is breathe in the view. Certainly that music sets me to breathing in the view, even from my little room here that I join our Zoom gathering. And today the message is seeing beauty and feeling grace. It was prepared lovingly by practitioner J.J. Giaducci from the Greater Cincinnati Center for Spiritual Living. So thank you, J.J. And our additional theme is the abundance is real, let's keep it flowing. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about affluence, abundance, and generosity. Now, the specifics, I love breathe in the view because this annual theme has moved all of us to a higher level of consciousness, and therefore the view that you and I see from here is grander, even by a small way, but really probably in big ways by now. The evolutionary vision that's carried us to this point is envisioning a world in which has renewed its emphasis on beauty and nature and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. And this comes from our global vision at Centers for Spiritual Living. And the timeless wisdom aspect of this is that you learn and then you know and then you believe that heaven is a local state of consciousness, meaning that that is a consciousness that is local to your consciousness, to your feeling, and sensing and thinking. And then you experience this heaven here and now to the degree that you become conscious of heavenliness, is what I will call it. A rightness with yourself, a rightness with those beings in your life, and a rightness with the world. And it begins with a moment, sometimes now and then, sporadically, but then more frequently, and then more deeply and more moving. And this is just a naturally occurring feeling. And this comes from a dedication to advancing your soul through this incarnation. As Reverend Michael Beckwith says, every single day you must wake up and say, open my eyes that I may see a glorious reality. Open my eyes so that I may see a glorious reality. And as practitioner JJ has set up for us today, this message of seeing beauty and feeling grace. And that means that you appreciate that inward feeling of spirit within, that you are present to it, and that you recognize those moments of holy communion that we might refer to as grace. Now, to look at this more from a science of mind perspective, beauty is a quality of God. And like all other qualities of God in our teaching, it is an inward feeling. Those positive sensations that you have at times experienced. In the case of beauty, it might be that you sense something beautiful, right? And in response to that sensing something beautiful, it might be a sight or a sound or a taste or a touch, something that calls forth beauty that's already within you, right? So that's the experience of beauty. You also might feel beauty and act upon it by expressing beauty, and you could express that beauty in all kinds of ways, in the same ways that you sense it, right? You might express beauty in sight or sound or touch or taste. Now, just remember that in science of mind, right, those positive feelings, those inward sensations are the activity of God within you, right? How you know there is a God and how you know that it is within you is by those inward sensations, by those feelings, right? And that in this human phase of your soul's journey, that is your direct connection with the divine. It cannot be more clear than that, I feel. So those feelings then can go on to be expressed as emotions, and emotions become a bodily feeling, a manifestation of those feelings, right? And those feelings then give rise to, you can choose to express them as emotions. Emotions then become a cause of a further revelation about you and your consciousness. They become a kind of mirror for you. Those emotions tell you something about yourself, and they move your body and mind to a new level of consciousness. Now, as I often say, we're here to feel better. And in the ways that you feel better, you affirm, you speak your word for those qualities, those good inward sensations, to feel those, right? I know it's simple, but feelings are that primary demonstration of treatment. You know your prayer is answered when you feel better. And those feelings are evoked by way of your spiritual practice, right? Now, as I say, you could go on to express those feelings in some way, but just once you have that inward sensation, you've got your answer prayer. How it manifests, there are a lot of choices that you can make, how that might specifically express, experience, circulate, connect in your life. Now, the science of mind might be one of the few world religions that does not require adopting a belief of God or in God. Rather, as you practice these principles, you naturally catch a glimpse of something truly fantastic. You connect with that, you commune with that, if even only for a moment, and that is those moments of transcendence that expand and grow your consciousness. Now, I can remember, I think I was in a pre-practitioner class, and one of my fellow students was really struggling this concept of God. We freely talk about, Ernest Holmes talks about, and therefore we talk about in our teaching, what he describes, Ernest Holmes described as God, a universal presence, an infinite creative, a divine intelligence, an ultimate reality. But for this student, those descriptions really didn't ring that student's bell. It didn't really resonate. And of course, the instructor moved on to this bridge that I've already built for you, and that internal positive feelings are God within, expressing, experience, circulating, connecting. So as one feels love, one is experiencing God as love. As one shares joy, one is circulating God as joy. And the quality that resonated with this student was the quality of beauty. Aha, beauty is an attribute, an aspect of the divine. So the God of this student's understanding began with the moment that the student recalled moments where the student was wrapped with beauty. It was already a familiar feeling. It now had a new context. It now had a deeper meaning. And beauty then expanded that student's conscious awareness of other positive feelings, other qualities of God, so that the student now could begin to see the God in everything. The student now had a real inward experience of God, and therefore this student's understanding of God grew from there. So Francis Bacon said, beauty itself is but the sensible image of the infinite. Beauty itself is but the sensible image of the infinite. I love that. And here's what Ernest Holmes has to say about our next aspect of today's message, and that is the aspect of grace, right? So Ernest Holmes says, grace is the givingness of spirit to its creation, the logical result of the correct acceptance of life and a correct relationship to spirit. He goes on to say, you are saved by grace to the extent that you believe in, accept, and seek to embody the law of good, which is ever a law of liberty, right? So grace in the science of mind, as Ernest Holmes says, is not a special law, but a specialized law. There's kind of a difference. So grace is a specialized state of consciousness that naturally occurs as a result of your spiritual perseverance, right? Your spiritual dedication. And what is specialized about this law is it tends to supersede a sequence that we teach in metaphysical law, right? Often we talk about the principle of cause and effect, that thoughts create a reality. The thought is the cause, the effect is what you're perceiving. Well, grace is a principle when you feel it, you have this sort of direct connection, meaning it blows right by cause and effect directly to the healed, not healing. It goes directly to healed. It goes directly to wholeness. It goes directly to that divine source. So more easily and more frequently, those transcendent moments that I referred to before, those are your little glimpses of grace. Those moments in which you have an almost overwhelming feeling of rightness, right? An overwhelming feeling that all is well, sort of an unexplained peacefulness. I mean, even in the midst of what you perceive to be worldly chaos and discord, you still feel that positive presence. You feel attuned to a great compassion, a deep love, an intelligence that knows beyond appearances to something great and rich and full. That is grace in our teaching. So you can see in the context of my fellow student, beauty giving rise to that transcendent moment for that student, and that gives rise to this feeling, this moment of grace upon which greater consciousness accelerates. And Eric Butterworth, the great unity minister, says this about grace. He says, the word grace means favor. He says, why are you favored as a child of God? I could say, are you favored as a child of God? And he says, simply because you are the activity of God expressing itself as you. So you already are that grace. And to the degree that you have that those grace-filled moments, you are in grace, but understand that it's not, as Ernest Holmes said, it's not special, right? Everyone, every creation of God is imbued fully with God. So living spirit favors all its creation, all its circulation, and everything in between. So what is that pivot point for you, right? What quality or set of qualities do you gravitate toward that create the potential, at least? It might be a moment of grace. It could be any one of these, right? So you see all of these spiritual qualities in front of you right now. And the three qualities that I've kind of singled out for our abundance is real, let's keep it flowing theme is affluence, abundance, kind of on the nose, right? And I'll think of it. Anyway, affluence, abundance, and generosity. Those are the ones that I'm drawn to today, and the ones that I work with a lot recently. Now, you might say that's pretty simple, that's pretty easy, it is easy to lay out the concept, right? But you might know in somebody else, certainly not me, that there might be some impediments, there might be some blocks, there might be things that seem to get in the way of your freely manifesting and demonstrating being the abundant being, experiencing, circulating the abundance in your life. And those blocks often appear as false beliefs or false feelings, false ideas, what we call stinking thinking of lack, of limitation, of scarcity, of density, of opacity. You might think of other words to describe it. But these are all thoughts and feelings that are blocking that flow of goodness in your life, blocking that flow of goodness through your life, blocking that flow of goodness as an exchange or a connection to other beings in this plane, right? And you also might be unduly influenced by the thinking of the world around you. And Gary Takasian described this beautifully a few weeks ago in talking about, what Ernest Holmes calls race thought. And again, Gary was clear to point out it's not racial. It's just a term that applies to what I will call the mob mentality. And like your own thinking being consciously directed, when the community joins together in one heart and one mind, as Reverend Sunshine likes to call it, a love-minded community, its thinking and its feeling is positive and constructive and productive. But left to chaos and disorder and discord, the mob, the community, the thinking of the world around you can often be not in your better interest. It might be going a different direction than the positivity and the constructivity that you desire and aspire to in your life. So what are the ways in which you can begin to dissolve and disintegrate or work around those blocks, those ways to detach yourself from the thinking of the world around you and that is through your spiritual practices, right? So in this case, doing daily meditation, doing daily treatment or affirmation or prayer, doing some form of spiritual study. Perhaps journaling becomes a powerful practice for you. And of course, we vision here, so visioning on a regular basis. What is God's high idea for my life this day, this moment? And what is the feeling, the quality, the tone of that high idea? Being of sacred service, right? Going to your spiritual counselor, seeing your practitioner is a form of spiritual practice. Giving as a spiritual practice and joining in the beloved community. So a lot of us are doing many of these spiritual practices already in our time together today. Good on you and well done. So the first quality that I kind of want to focus in on right now is affluence, right? And again, going back to Eric Butterworth, you know, in spiritual economics, he talks about affluence as being in the flow of God, being in the flow of living spirit. And we often hear about peak performers, whether it's doctors or scientists or athletes or actors or musicians or painters or sculptors or dancers or chefs. We often refer to an experience of being in the zone, right? And they're actually in this kind of transcendent state, this altered state of consciousness where a power, an intelligence, a creativity, a connection to something greater than they thought possible is actually taking over, right? Now, what I want to point out is that affluence is not an anomaly. It's not an adrenaline rush. Don't think about it that way, right? But think about affluence as being the certain demonstration of your minutes and hours and days and months of and years of preparation, right? So the question becomes, of those spiritual practices, what gets you in the flow of living spirit? What gets you there the easiest, the most consistent, the most deeply? Think about focusing on that just to get to those moments of grace. The second one I want to talk about is abundance, right? The abundance is real. Now, feeling abundant can mean you experience large quantities of something. It can mean that there's a big variety. It could mean that there's a high quality, some opulent character to your life experience. And I was just thinking about this the other day. It's like I've had some really memorable meals in my lifetime, right? And it's something that, especially during the pandemic, that's been something that I and everyone has to be really mindful around who we share meals with. But of all of those memorable meals, I don't really remember the food. As good as that food may have been, the quantity, the quality, the variety, but what I can recall are the beautiful people. I can recall the shining faces. I can recall that circulation of God's good happening as at that meal, and the abundance of God's good in activity, in action, in circulation. It was palpable, and it's still to this day, that's what I recall from those great meals. So feeling abundant, like all God's qualities, a little different for each person, you know, which is itself an aspect of the abundance of living spirit, that abundance can be so individually and variously experienced, expressed, circulated by all these different aspects of God that are you and me, God in action, right? The last one is generosity, right? To me, generosity means circulating my good, right? Now, I want to consider the opposite of being generous, right? The opposite of being generous is where I stop my flow, that I cut it off, where there is something hesitant about just being open and giving without any second thought, without any hesitance or resistance, right? And when those blocks to generosity arise, right? I'm stopping the flow. So I go back to affluence. And am I in the flow of spirit? And if I'm in the flow of spirit, generosity is a natural quality of being in that flow. If I'm not being generous, I'm stopping the flow. That means I'm stopping it both ways. I'm stopping the inflow and the outflow, right? So I've often said that, spirituality, being on this path is dynamic. It has to be in motion. When it is stopped for any reason, we're stopping that flow. I'm stopping that goodness that's already occurring within me. I'm stopping that from continuing and growing. As Reverend Michael often says, you can only have truly what you freely give. Just think about that. It's like if I really want to hang on to something with a tight grip, I've stopped the flow. But when I am an open conduit for that good, it's flowing freely. And what happens is when I'm in the flow, I'm actually reenacting this unlimited circulation of living spirit. And as you circulate with a consciousness of abundance, your capacity to circulate more good grows. What you appreciate appreciates. So as Reverend Michael says, the truth is that there's more than enough good to go around. There is more enough power, love, and joy. And all of this begins to come through a mind that is aware of its own infinite nature. So I'll close today with a few affirmations. As I sense beauty, I feel God's grace within. I marvel at the beauty and grace that dwells within all creation. My life is spirit living itself through and as me. And with that, I know that all the best for you today. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Reverend Kevin. Wow. Amazing, amazing stuff. Well, we have just a few minutes left, and I would love to actually celebrate November birthdays, since I was remiss in doing that last week, but it's never ever too late to celebrate. Any milestones or anniversaries or birthdays? Is there anyone who's on our Zoom platform today that is celebrating a birthday this month?
It's Dina.
Gary Takasian, when's your birthday, beloved? It passed?
It is on the 22nd of November, so it's a week from Monday.
11/22. Okay.
11/22.
Good deal. And then I heard Dana. So go ahead next, Dana.
Oh, I've got a list of them. One of my granddaughters, Riley, she entered the double-digit zone. She turned 10 November 2nd. I've got two very special friends. We've been friends for upwards of 30 years. Alexandria on the 12th, Nikki on the 19th, and best of all, the best brother in the world, Larry, celebrated his birthday on the 9th.
Oh, we love Larry and all of your family and friends, so thank you so much for speaking their names into our November birthdays. Camila, I see that beautiful face, and so Camila, tell us about your birthday.
I have my godfather, his birthday just passed. It was November 4th. I have my friend, her birthday is November 21st. And then it's my birthday, November 20th.
November 20th on 11/20. Beautiful. And I see Sunny Day is mentioning her sister Amira, who is on November the 18th. And then today our friend Samantha G is celebrating 4 years of sobriety, so that's like a birthday. Anyone else? I want to share that Sunny and I celebrated an anniversary, November the 4th, at 13 years of marriage, so that was a milestone as well. Okay, well, we sing happy.
I will be celebrating Number 93 on November 30th.
Wow.
Woo!
Whoa.
What?
Fantastic.
93. All right. Well, we've got lots to celebrate, so I'm going to invite us to sing happy birthday. And we can say anniversary or birthday. Let's just say birthday. And instead of the person's name, we just say we love you as we celebrate and bring our celebration to a close. Happy birthday to you and many more. Good deal. All right, beloveds, thank you so much for being here with us today. We absolutely love you. For those of you on Zoom, we are going to stay afterwards and we'll have prayer with a practitioner if you so choose, or just be able to fellowship with one another for a few moments. Until next week, know that you are loved and cared for, and let us do our closing prayer, which is a song. Know that you're loved.
This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand. This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand.
Like you mean it.
This is our prayer, a song of peace. We get to be the change we want to see. With open hearts and open hands, we lift our voices, in love we stand.
We lift our voices.
We